This was meant to be the quiet chapter for Amy Roloff. Her relationship with Chris Mark was portrayed as the ultimate payoff following decades of drama and a contentious public divorce. A tranquil life away from the never-ending whirl of Roloff Farms, a lovely new home, and a devoted companion. They were working together as a team to create a future that was wholly their own. However, astute fans have been highlighting the flaws in the facade for months. A strained exchange here, a fake grin there, a clear gap between them in situations where they ought to be near each other. We've all witnessed it. We've all experienced it. Is everything okay with Amy and Chris? Is another question that many of you have been posing in the comments. We can tell you today that the answer is no, based on inside sources. It's not all right. It's worse than any of us could have guessed, actually. An inside source for Little People, Big World has sent us a heartbreaking story, claiming the marriage is a total farce. They don't work as a team. They are not one. Under the same roof, they are actually leading quite different lives. The ideal house has turned into a chilly, quiet battleground. The marriage is essentially over behind closed doors, but they are sticking together for the show. And one act of treachery is the cause of this disastrous downfall. Our insider claims that the betrayal is totally terrible because it is so deep and intimate for Amy. Because it concerns Matt Roloff, the one person Chris Marek should never have approached behind her back. If you're as shocked and worried as we are for Amy, please press the like button immediately. More fans who deserve to know the reality behind the meticulously crafted scenes will be able to see this report thanks to your assistance. Additionally, ring your notification bell and subscribe to LPBW Update if you haven't already. You will want to be present for every single discovery in the intricate web of deceit that we are going to reveal. Alright, let's dissect what our source has informed us. According to reports, things in their home have gotten worse to the extent that they are no longer even sleeping together. Chris is now confined to the guest room at the other end of the corridor, while Amy sleeps in the master suite. According to our outset source, the mood throughout the days of filming was unbearably strained. The moment the director yells cut, they stated, and I repeat them, the smiles go away. They are silent. They go to different areas of the home on foot. The team has been instructed to record them as much as possible in communal areas, such as the kitchen, because otherwise, they are never seen in the same space. All of this is an act, a tiring, agonizing charade. What, then, could lead to such a total breakdown? What kind of treachery could cause a new marriage to fall apart so thoroughly? The woman wasn't another one. According to our insider, the truth is far more complex and for Amy, infinitely more painful. Chris's increasing annoyance was the first step. In his own house, he apparently felt marginalized as a real estate expert. Taking advantage of Amy's history, he wished to establish his own reputation as a supplier and independent businessman. According to our source, this insecurity prompted him to devise a covert business idea. However, he required a partner with money and a well-known name. He needed Roloff, Matt. Chris started having secret encounters with Amy's ex-husband without notifying her. To avoid being noticed, they would get together for lunch or coffee in locations far from where they usually congregate. A new joint venture was the subject of discussion. According to our source, was a luxury real estate development firm that made use of Matt's brand and business sense as well as Chris's understanding of the market. Here's the twist on the knife though. The ultimate treachery is right here. Amy was to provide the initial money for this ambitious new endeavor. In order to convince Amy to fund their ambition, Chris planned to first enlist Matt's support, then work with him to create a strong business plan and offer it to her as an irresistible opportunity. He moved behind his wife's back to work with her former spouse in order to obtain her money. Is the degree of dishonesty even conceivable? He had an accomplice in the man who had tormented her for 30 years. For his own pride and financial benefit, he was using her past and present against her. How then did Amy learn? It wasn't Chris admitting that it was a total accident. According to reports, she discovered an email exchange between them while searching for a document on their shared home computer. Matt and Chris. RM Project Proposal Roloff Marek was the topic line. She read everything, even the business plans, the confidential lunch meetings, and the in-depth conversations about how to best approach Amy for the initial investment. The treachery was exposed in stone-cold text. The aftermath, according to our insider, was the explosion that ended the marriage. There was no peaceful dispute in the confrontation. According to reports, the yelling match lasted 4 hours. Amy felt like the world's biggest idiot. She had put her trust in him, stood up for him in front of her kids, and started a new life with him, only to find out later that he was working with the ghost of her past behind her back. Because he had formed an alliance with the one person he knew she was most vulnerable to, she regarded it as the ultimate power move, an attempt to dominate her and her finances. She allegedly said, "You two are the same," at him. "Both of you simply view me as a financial account." He has been in the guest room since she threw him out of their bedroom that very evening. Ever since, the faith has been evaporated, not merely shattered. For all practical reasons, the marriage is over. For the sake of a television deal, they are living together as housemates. However, this tale is far from over. A new toxic dynamic has been established by Chris and Matt's covert collaboration, and it is poised to explode and impact the entire Roloff family. What kind of business were they planning? What drove Matt to consent to this shocking betrayal of his own ex-wife? When Zach and the other kids learned about this unholy union, how did they respond? The startling specifics of the RM project proposal will be disclosed in part 2 of this terrible exposé. We'll reveal Matt Roloff's real motivation for collaborating with Chris. We will also discuss the specifics of the emergency family meeting that the Roloff children organized in order to confront their father and mother about this disastrous web of lies. Keep checking the LPBW update. The Cold War will soon heat up. Welcome to the LPBW update again. The shocking revelation that Amy Roloff and Chris Marr are living apart under the same home was made in part 1. The awful treachery by Chris destroyed their marriage. We disclosed that, behind Amy's back, he was covertly planning to start a business with her ex-husband Matt Roloff, using her money as seed cash. Amy's dream house became a chilly, quiet battleground when she herself discovered the damning proof. But even more stunning are the depth of their deceit and the real reasons for their unholy alliance. A family civil war is going to break out as a result of the aftermath. Let us go directly to the core of the issue. The proposal for the RM project. Our informant was able to give us terrifying information regarding the business project that Matt and Chris were covertly preparing. This wasn't your average real estate transaction. This was a bold and dangerous commercial real estate venture. According to the project's details in the purported emails Amy found, which included buying a sizable piece of undeveloped land outside their county. After obtaining zoning modifications for commercial use, a famously challenging and costly process, a mixed-use complex comprising retail establishments, office buildings, and possibly even some high-density residential apartments was to be constructed. According to reports, the expected amount of money needed for the initial zoning applications, land acquisition, and preliminary architectural designs was enormous. Range of several $1,000,000. Amy's money was crucial in this situation. According to reports, Chris and Matt created financial models that indicated Amy's sizable farm payout served as the main source of initial finance. They effectively used Amy as their personal bank by persuading her of the amazing returns and reassuring her of the low danger in order to persuade her to invest. You may be wondering why Matt. Why would Matt Roloff, who has been in business for decades, team up with Chris, the married man, to come up with such a cunning plan against Amy, his ex-wife? Our sources claim that the solution is complex and has its roots in Matt's own nuanced nature. Ego comes first. Being in charge and the visionary is what Matt Roloff thrives on. According to reports, Chris, the affable real estate agent, suggested this as a means for Matt to reclaim his business leadership outside of the farm and create a new legacy that might surpass Roloff Farms. Appealing to Matt's ambition, he flatteringly told him that he was the only someone has the foresight and expertise to execute such a large-scale endeavor. Second, authority over Amy. Matt has always had some influence over Amy's life, even after the divorce. Although he was no longer able to manage her finances directly, he could still indirectly access and affect Amy's financial choices by working with Chris. Even if it was through Chris, he might be the mastermind behind the whole thing. It was an attempt to regain control of Amy's finances. Orbit. And lastly, straightforward opportunism. Matt saw an opportunity to use Amy's funds and Chris's frontman skills to potentially earn a huge payout. Matt didn't care much about the emotional toll on Amy. It was just a transactional relationship. He was prepared to betray Amy's confidence in order to have another big score. Amy and Chris were the only ones affected by the explosion when they found out about the email chain. But it is impossible to hold secrets this explosive for very long. Our sources attest to that Amy finally confided in Tori when in complete distress. And Tori called Zach right away after seeing Amy's distress and the obvious treachery. The Roloff children were incensed not only at Chris for controlling their mother, but also at their own father, Matt, for participating in this heinous lie. The divorce between Matt and Amy was no longer the only issue at hand. This involved a direct attack on their mother's financial and mental stability. They understood they needed to take action. Their mother couldn't be allowed to be exploited and marginalized even further. Thus, the Roloff kids did something they don't often do. They came together. A family emergency meeting was convened. Amy and Matt were required to be present. Chris Morrick was also specifically left out of the invitation. We are informed that in order to avoid any more explosions on the set, the meeting was held in an unnamed neutral location. Not the farm, nor Amy's new residence. The emotional intervention was unfiltered. Zach allegedly took the lead. He went straight to Matt. "Dad," he said. Claimed to have started. His voice strained with incredulity. "How could you conspire with Chris to try to steal Mom's money behind her back after everything? How could a father do that?" According to reports, Matt, who is always quick on his feet, attempted to deflect. He maintained that Amy was too sentimental to recognize the genuine commercial opportunity. "I'm trying to help her invest wisely," he said. The children, however, didn't believe it. According to reports, Jeremy, Molly, and Jacob joined in, accusing Matt of being cunning and avaricious, just like the man their mother wed. However, it was when they turned to Amy that the true heartbreak occurred. The kids begged her to see Chris for who he really was, heartbroken by her suffering but also annoyed by her seeming innocence. Zach allegedly said, "He's just taking advantage of you, Mom. He's not who you believe him to be. How can you continue to be with someone who would plot against you with your father?" According to reports, Amy, who was caught in the middle, was crying. She attempted to initially defend Chris by claiming that he was mistaken and didn't intend to harm her. However, the children showed her the complete email chain, the dates of the covert meetings, the financial estimates, and the specific proof they had seen. They exposed the extent of the treachery. There was a significant change at the end of the meeting. Amy reportedly broke down after finally shedding her disbelief. She realized how completely Chris had lied, and she accepted that the marriage was over. The children, observing their mother's actual suffering, hugged her and assured her that they would always be there for her. However, the family suffered a deep wound when Amy's eyes were open. Now that Matt's previous behavioral tendencies have been validated, the children have a fresh mistrust of him. Additionally, Amy and Chris's marriage is a sham that is only kept up for the show's contractual requirements. What does this mean for them now? For the cameras, Amy and Chris still pretend to be a happy married couple. However, in actuality, they share a room. Behind the scenes, the silence between them is deafening, but the program is allegedly erasing any indications of strain in an effort to preserve the ideal marriage facade. The dynamics of the Roloff family have been permanently changed. In addition to ruining a marriage, Chris and Matt's covert collaboration has further shattered the already complicated Roloff family and driven them further into a quiet internal conflict. Amy is left to pick up the pieces and deal with a future in which the two men have destroyed her trust. They were meant to keep her safe. This is no longer only a plot point. This is the unvarnished, heartbreaking reality. The issue yet stands. How long can they maintain this facade before the world notices the flaws in the meticulously built facade?